Hello, everyone. This is Learn English with Brandon, and I have some listening for you. Uh, we're going to talk about why Americans are fat. Yeah, okay, so this is kind of a touchy subject, but in the United States, we have roughly 40% obesity, and obesity is really, really overweight. And you might go to the United States and say, like, well, I don't really see that many super fat people. I mean, there are, but I don't see that many. Well, a lot of them don't leave their homes. So we have this notion that's probably perpetuated by the beautiful people in the media that if you're fat, it's because you're lazy, it's because you make poor choices in your health. Um, Now, in some cases, these might allude to the real situation. However, this is a very small part of the picture, and I have very strong feelings on why Americans tend to be overweight and why in certain countries there is increasing rates of obesity, particularly child obesity. So I would like to talk about that a little bit. In the United States, in the 1980s, we had all these campaigns for fat-free foods. We had this idea that foods that are fat-free are going to not get you fat, so you can eat as much of them as you want. And so we started all these marketing campaigns about how to buy healthy food, and it's fat free. So if you're an athlete or you're trying to get in shape, buy this food. It's fat free. It's good for you. Um, and there's a lot of information out there on the sugar industry and the relationship between the sugar industry, the Food and Drug Administration in the United States, and how they kind of implemented this into a marketing strategy for the public. There are other videos on that, but that's all I'm going to say right now. But with these fat-free foods, they did eliminate the fat, but they replaced the fat with sugar. And it has been said, I think in the 80s or 90s, that you can eat as much sugar as you want just as long as you exercise. And we found out now that that's wrong, that that's incredibly wrong and unethical to tell people. But we had all these fat-free foods that we removed the fat, and when we removed the fat, we found that it tasted really, really bad, like cardboard in most cases. So we just replaced the fat with a lot of sugar until it tasted really good. So I want you to think about going to the grocery store in any country that you live in. And I want you to think about the fat-free foods that you see. Okay, they're all packaged, they're all processed, and they often have, an attractive, fit woman or man running or doing some form of sport activity on this package. And you probably have that in your country. The next time you are at the grocery store and you see that, I would really like for you to pick up that package and read how much sugar is in it. If you Google how much sugar we need, it's a little bit less than 40 grams of added sugar per day. That's our daily limit. I try to stay way below that personally, and one can of Coke is about that amount. Okay. So, recent studies have suggested that it's not fat that makes us fat, it is the sugar that makes us fat. Um, so this is really why I believe that Americans are overweight is is solely because of all the sugar that we consume, that we blindly consume. Okay? It's not that Americans are eating Snickers bars every day and just taking spoonfuls of sugar or dipping butter sticks in the sugar bowl and eating it. No, Americans don't do that. Americans try to eat rationally. Okay, but as I've said before in other videos, we are busy. We work a lot, and a lot of people don't have the time, or they don't think about picking up the package and reading it. They think that if it says fat free and it's healthy and has vitamins, that it must be good for them, right? They're just being innocent consumers and just believing what they're told. And unfortunately, we don't really live in a world where we can always believe what we are told. I wish we did live in a world like that, but we're far from it. So recent studies have shown that when sugar goes to the liver, It gets converted directly into stored fat, fat that surrounds the internal organs, and that this type of fat leads to congenitive heart failure, which is one of the leading causes of death in the United States, also diabetes. So this is alluding to this point. Okay, we have a massive corn industry in the United States, and we produce one type of corn, and this corn has been genetically modified to grow in a way where it's easy to manufacture it into high fructose corn syrup. High fructose corn syrup is the most common form of sugar used in the United States, and this is found in everything, in everything. Probably like 90% of all the foods that we see on the shelves in the United States. It's in ketchup, it's in bread, it's in beer, it's in so many things that it doesn't even need to be in. But if you pick up your packages and you read it in the United States, you'll find that there's high fructose corn syrup somewhere in it. Okay, now I left the United States roughly 2 years ago. I left to travel the world and write a book and do cyclotouring around Europe. So I was trying to get in really good shape. And what did I do? I quit drinking alcohol. I was exercising 6 days a week on average. I was running 5 or 10 kilometers every other day. I was doing CrossFit. Yeah, I was getting in good shape. But you know what? I still had a layer of fat on me. I left the United States, I went to Europe, and I really didn't watch what I ate. I ate whatever I want. I would drink a beer if I wanted to drink a beer, and I would still exercise, but you know what? I lost a lot of weight, and I really believe it's because of the sugar. I really believe it's because of the sugar. And the thing is that it's just easy to not eat sugar in other parts of the world. You have to go out and buy something specifically that's sweet, like Coca-Cola, like Pepsi, or like a muffin or dessert, something that's actually covered in sugar. But when you buy bread at the local market, probably anywhere in Europe, there's probably no added sugar in it. And in the United States, I really didn't eat much bread because we say cut out the carbs if you want to lose fat. And so I kind of I didn't really eat much bread, but there's still a lot of high fructose corn syrup in just about anything. I mean, sausages, for example, they put sugar in everything. And then, I leave the country and I'm eating the foods and I'm finding that there's less sugar in it. And so what happened? I lost about 10 kilos of weight. Sugar, there's been studies on sugar on rats, and they found that sugar has the same effect on the psychology as cocaine does. It affects the same parts of the brain that cocaine affects. That's a little scary. That's a little scary. But if you eat sugar, you know that it makes you feel better. We feel better when we eat sugar. If we eat a lot of sugar and we don't eat sugar, we might feel a little grouchy or angry. So this is something that I think should be treated with an incredible amount of caution. An incredible amount of caution. And it's not so much about looking fat or looking better. It's more about increasing the longevity of our lives so that we are just healthier and so that we're not addicted to any substance. I think that if we're addicted, if we find ourselves addicted, and this is my personal opinion, but if we find ourselves addicted to any substance or to any activity, that we should be very cautious about that, and we should question our behaviors and we should question our desires. If you have to drink alcohol all the time, then this is perhaps something very dangerous. If you have to drink coffee all the time, might be something that you want to ask yourself about. I'm not saying we shouldn't do one thing or the other. I'm not suggesting that. But I'm suggesting that we just really be careful about what we put into our bodies and what we do with our bodies on a regular basis. And if we ask ourselves this, if we engage in internal dialogue with ourselves, I think we will discover answers that suit us best. And the best thing about this is I can't tell you. Only you can tell you. So These are the reasons why I believe Americans are fat, and it basically boils down to the amount of sugar that we have in our diet naturally. And I really am disappointed with the food industry, with the marketing industry, which I do believe has led to this situation. I hope that it can change, but I also believe that the only way it can change is if people change the way they use their money. I hope you found this video interesting. Please ask me any questions in the comments below. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to the channel. And yeah, please comment. It's a great way to practice your English. And this is why I am doing this. It's for you. It's to help you. See you in the next video.